August 3rd, 2024. This is Marcus Dunne, Washington State DNR, beginning my rotation at Desolation Peak Lookout, Whatcom County. I'm recording this because, well, they told me to keep a journal for mental health purposes, and honestly I've never been great with writing, so I figured audio would work just as well. It's 6:47 p.m. and I just finished hauling the last of my supplies up these stairs, 312 steps. I counted every single one. The guy I'm replacing, Peterson, he was supposed to stay and brief me, go over the equipment, the radio frequencies, all that, but when I got to the trailhead his truck was already gone. Just left a note taped to the trail marker that said, "Radio works, generator works. Don't look down at night, good luck." I figured it was a joke, some kind of hazing thing for the new guy. The ranger station said Peterson requested an early transfer about 3 weeks into his rotation, which is unusual. These postings are 12 weeks. Minimum, and most guys actually like the solitude. I've been looking forward to this for months, just me, the mountains, and about 1,000,000 acres of forest to watch. The view up here is unbelievable. I can see all the way to the Canadian border on a clear day, which today is. The peaks are still holding snow even in August, and there's this quality to the light up here that I can't really describe. Golden almost. Makes everything look like a painting. Anyway, I should check in with dispatch. This is day 1. End of entry. August 3rd, 11:23 p.m. Can't sleep. Not unusual for a first night in a new place, and the wind up here is something else. The tower creaks and sways in a way that takes getting used to. It's actually supposed to do that. The whole structure is designed to flex in high winds rather than resist them, but it still feels like being on a boat. I've got the wood stove going, which helps with the sound, gives me something consistent to focus on. The night sky out here is incredible. No light pollution for 50 miles in any direction. I turned off my headlamp and just stood on the catwalk for a while, watching satellites drift by. Counted 3 shooting stars in about 10 minutes. I was about to head back inside when I heard something below me. Footsteps. Clear as day, even over the wind. A steady rhythm, like someone walking through the brush at the base of the tower. I grabbed my flashlight and leaned over the railing, pointing the beam down toward the ground. And nothing. Just rocks and scraggly trees and the trail leading down the mountain. I kept the light on for a good 30 seconds, scanning back and forth. Not a deer, not a bear, nothing. But I swear I heard footsteps. Could have been an animal, I guess. Sound carries weird up here. The ranger station warned me about that, said I'd hear hikers on trails that are miles away, hear conversations that sound like they're right next to me. Something about the way the valley's channels sound. That's probably what it was. Anyway, I'm going to try to get some sleep. Peterson's note keeps bugging me though, don't look down at night. Like I said, probably just hazing. End of entry. August 4th, 9:15 a.m. Good morning. Slept maybe 4 hours, but I feel fine. The sunrise up here is worth the sleep deprivation. I spent the first couple hours getting familiar with the Osborne Firefinder, which is this big circular map table in the center of the cab that you use to triangulate smoke sightings. Beautiful piece of equipment. Been using the same basic design since the 1920s. Checked in with Glacier District Dispatch at 800. Everything normal. Visibility is excellent. Humidity is low. Fire danger is moderate. I asked about Peterson. Tried to sound casual about it. The dispatcher, her name is Linda, she got kind of quiet and just said he'd been reassigned to a desk position. When I asked why, she said sometimes people aren't suited for isolation work and that I should radio in. Immediately if I experienced any psychological distress. That's standard protocol, I know, but something about the way she said it felt off, like she was reading from a script. I also found something this morning when I was organizing the storage locker under the floorboards. Previous lookouts leave all sorts of stuff behind. Books mostly, playing cards, magazines. But there was a notebook in there, and I think it belonged to Peterson. Most of it is just weather observations and supply logs. Totally mundane, but the last few pages are different. The handwriting gets messier, harder to read. There's one section I'm going to read out loud here, just so I have a record of it. Quote, Day 19, footsteps again last night. I know the protocol says to investigate any unusual activity in the area, but I'm not going down there. I made the mistake of looking the first time. I don't know what I saw, but I'm not looking again. It's not a person. It walks like a person, but it's not. I've started. Sleeping during the day. At night I just sit in the center of the room with all the shutters closed and wait for sunrise. I requested transfer, but they denied it. Said I need to complete my rotation. They don't understand. End quote. There's more after that, but it's almost illegible, just the same phrase written over and over. Don't look, don't look, don't look. Creepy, right? I'm choosing to believe Peterson had some kind of mental health episode. Isolation can do that to people. I've done. My research, I know the signs to watch for. Auditory hallucinations are actually pretty common, especially in low stimulation environments. The brain starts generating its own input to fill the silence. I'm not going to let this get to me. End of entry. August 6th, 7:30 p.m. Haven't recorded in a couple days because, honestly, there hasn't been much to report. Beautiful weather, no smoke sightings, plenty of time to read and think. I've been working through a collection of Edward Abbey I found in... The storage locker seems appropriate for the setting. Last night I thought I heard the footsteps again around 2 a.m., but I told myself it was just wind or animals and didn't get up to check. Slept through the rest of the night with no problem. Tonight, though. Tonight is different. It's not even fully dark yet. There's still that blue glow on the western horizon, and I can hear them. Footsteps, circling the base of the tower. Not walking away, not walking toward anything, just circling. Around. And around. I've been standing here by the window for about 15 minutes, just listening. The sound is perfectly regular, like a metronome. Step, 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 step. Always the same pace, always the same rhythm. I haven't looked down yet. I keep thinking about Peterson's notebook. And I know that's irrational. I know he was clearly not in a good mental state when he wrote that. But there's something about the sound that makes me not want to look. It doesn't sound like footsteps anymore now. That I'm really paying attention. I mean, it does, the rhythm is right, but footsteps on what? The ground around the tower is rocky, exposed granite in most places. Footsteps on rock don't sound like this. This sounds like footsteps on wood, like someone walking on a wooden floor. But there's no wooden floor down there, just rock and dirt and a few scraggly pines. I'm going to radio dispatch, just to have someone to talk to. Stand by. Okay, I'm back. Talk to the night dispatcher, guy named Greg. Told him I was hearing some unusual sounds outside, and asked if there were any other personnel in my area. Maybe another lookout hiking between stations or a trail crew camping nearby. He checked the logs and said no. The nearest human being to me right now is probably 30 miles away at Ross Lake. I asked if there had been any reports of unusual activity at Desolation Peak, any weird sightings or anything like that. He got quiet for a second and then said, and I'm quoting directly here, "Just focus on your job, Marcus. If you hear something outside, you don't need to investigate. That's not your job. Your job is to watch for fires." Then he said goodnight and signed off. That was weird, right? That's not a normal response. If I called in saying I heard something outside, the normal response would be to tell me to check it out, make sure it's not a lost hiker or an injured animal or something. Not to specifically tell me not to investigate. The footsteps are still going. I can hear them right now, same rhythm, same pace. Around and around, I'm not going to look. End of entry. August 6th, 11:52 p.m. I looked. I didn't mean to, it just happened. I was trying to read, trying to ignore the sound, and I dropped my book, and when I bent down to pick it up, I was facing the window, the one that looks down toward the base of the tower, and I just looked. The moon is almost full tonight, bright enough to cast shadows, and I could see the ground clearly, the rocks, the trail, the gnarled little pine trees. And I could see something else. It was moving around the base of the tower, just like the sound suggested, circling in that same steady rhythm. But here's the thing. Here's what I can't explain. It was below the ground. Like, the surface of the ground was there. I could see it clearly in the moonlight, but this thing was moving beneath it. Not underground, not burrowing, just beneath. Like the ground was a sheet of glass and something was walking around on the other side. I only saw it for a second, maybe 2 seconds, because as soon as I looked, as soon as my eyes focused on it, it stopped. The footsteps stopped. The movement stopped. And something looked up at me. I couldn't see a face, couldn't see any features at all, just a shape. A dark shape, roughly the size of a person, and the sense of being looked at. You know that feeling when someone's staring at you and you can feel it before you even see them? It was like that, but worse. Like being seen by something that doesn't have eyes. I pulled back from the window, and I've been sitting in the center of the room ever since. The footsteps haven't started again. I don't know if that's better or worse. I tried to radio dispatch, but I'm only getting static. That happens sometimes, atmospheric conditions, but the timing feels intentional. like something doesn't want me to call for help. I know how this sounds. I know I sound like Peterson, but I saw something. I know I did. End of entry. August 7th, 4:45 a.m. It's been 5 hours and the footsteps haven't come back. I haven't slept. I've just been sitting here watching the windows, waiting for the sun. There's maybe another hour until dawn. The moon set around 3 a.m. and since then it's been so dark I can't see anything outside, which is almost worse. At least with the moonlight I could see that there was nothing there. Now I just have to trust the silence. And I don't trust the silence anymore. I've been thinking about Peterson, about his notebook, about what he wrote. He said it walks like a person, but it isn't a person. He was right. The proportions were wrong, I think. The shape I saw, it was roughly human-sized, but the limbs seemed too long, or maybe they bent in places where limbs shouldn't bend. I only saw it for a second. I keep trying to convince myself that I imagined it, that it was just shadows, just moonlight playing tricks through sleep deprivation. But I didn't imagine the footsteps. I've been hearing the footsteps for days. And now I understand why Peterson wrote what he wrote. Don't look down at night, because once you look, it knows you can see it. And once it knows you can see it, I don't know. I don't know what happens next. The sky is starting to lighten in the east, faint grey on the horizon. I'm going to make it to sunrise. After that, I'm hiking out. I don't care about the rotation. I don't care about the job. I'm leaving. End of entry. August 7th, 8:30 a.m. I didn't leave. I was going. 2. I packed my bag. I filled my water bottles. I was standing at the top of the stairs ready to descend, and I couldn't do it. 312 steps between me and the ground. 312 steps in a tight spiral around the tower's central pillar. No visibility. No way to see what might be waiting at the bottom. What if it's still there? What if it circles during the day too, and I just can't hear it because of the wind and the birds and all the other daytime sounds? What if the only safe time to descend is right at noon, when the sun is directly overhead and there are no shadows? What if there is no safe time? I radioed dispatch this morning. The static cleared up right around sunrise, of course. I asked to speak to a supervisor. I asked about Peterson again, asked specifically what happened to him, why he left early, what he reported. The dispatcher, Linda again, she said she wasn't authorized to discuss personnel matters, but then she said something else. She said, "It's not supposed to interact with the lookouts. You must have done something to get its attention." Then she went quiet, like she realized she'd said too much, and asked if there was anything else I needed. I said no and signed off. It's not supposed to interact with the lookouts. That implies they know about it. They know something is out here, something that circles fire towers at night, something that exists beneath the ground, and they just don't tell us. They send us up here, alone for 12 weeks, and they don't warn us. I found more writing in Peterson's notebook, pages I missed before. He wasn't the first lookout to experience this. He found notes from the person before him, someone named Sarah Yamamoto, dated 2019, and she found notes from someone before her. It goes back decades. They all describe the same thing: footsteps at night, the feeling of being watched, the overwhelming sense that something is waiting, and they all have the same advice: don't look down. Stay inside after dark. Never descend the tower at night for any reason. Most of them finished their rotations, most of them survived. The ones who didn't, the ones like Sarah Yamamoto, their notes just stop. Mid-sentence sometimes. No explanation, no goodbye. I'm going to stay. Not because I want to, but because I think leaving might be more dangerous than staying. At least up here I have walls. At least up here I have height. If I go down those stairs, I'll be on its level. I'll be in its territory. I'm going to wait for a helicopter resupply scheduled for next week. I'll leave then when I don't have to touch the ground. End of entry. August 11th, 3:15 a.m. It's back. I've been hearing it for 4 nights now. Same as before. Footsteps circling the base of the tower. That same steady rhythm, around and around for hours. I've followed the rules. I haven't looked down. I keep the shutters closed after dark, and I sit in the center of the room, and I wait for sunrise. But tonight, something changed. Tonight the footsteps stopped circling and started climbing. I heard the first step on the stairs around midnight. Unmistakable. Metal on metal. That clang that the tower stairs make when you put weight on them. Then another step. Then another. Slow and steady. The same rhythm as the circling, but vertical now. coming up. I grabbed the radio and called dispatch, screaming into the mic, telling them something was climbing the tower, begging them to send help. Greg's voice came back, calm as always, and he said, "It can't come inside, Marcus. It's never been able to come inside. Just stay away from the windows and wait for sunrise." Never been able to come inside. That means they've seen it try before. That means other lookouts have sat exactly where I'm sitting right now, listening to footsteps on the stairs, waiting to see if the door will hold. The footsteps are still coming. Slow, so slow, like it has all the time in the world. I counted 11 steps so far. 301 to go. At this pace, it'll reach the top around dawn. I don't know what happens if it reaches the catwalk while it's still dark. I don't want to find out. The rules say it can't come inside. The rules say the door will hold. But Peterson left early. Sarah Yamamoto never left at all. What if the rules are wrong? What if they're just things we tell ourselves to make it through the night? I'm going to stop recording now. I need to focus. I need to listen. I need to count those footsteps and pray that sunrise comes before 312. End of entry. August 11th, 5:58 a.m. It's almost dawn. I can see the light on the horizon, grey turning to pink, turning to gold. The footsteps stopped around step 290. I heard them get that high. I counted every single one, and then they just stopped. For 20 minutes I sat here in the silence, staring at the door, waiting for it to open. It didn't. At some point, I don't know when, the presence outside faded. That feeling of being watched, being seen, it lifted like fog burning off in the sun. I think it went back down. I think it retreated to wherever it goes during the day, beneath the ground, in the spaces between the rocks. I don't understand what it is or what it wants. Maybe it doesn't want anything. Maybe it's just doing what it does, circling, climbing, testing, the same way water flows downhill. No malice, no intent, just nature. Just something that exists in this place. Something that's been here longer than the fire towers, longer than the Forest Service, longer than any human being who ever walked these mountains. I have 5 days until the helicopter comes. 5 days of watching the horizon for smoke and watching the clock for sunset. I can do this. Others have done it before me. I just have to follow the rules. Don't look down at night. Don't open the door after dark. Don't descend the stairs until the sun is fully up. And whatever I do, whatever I hear, whatever voice calls up to me from the base of the tower, don't answer. Because that's the other thing I learned from Peterson's notebook. Sometimes it speaks. It hasn't spoken to me yet. I hope it never does. End of entry. August 15th, 9 p.m. Final entry. Tomorrow morning the helicopter arrives and I'm leaving. I'm not coming back. I'll tell the Forest Service whatever they want to hear, make up some excuse about family emergency or medical issue, whatever gets me off this mountain permanently. These last 4 nights have been quiet. The footsteps circle, but they don't climb. I haven't looked down, haven't broken any rules, and it seems to have lost interest. Or maybe not lost interest. Maybe just waiting. Last night I dreamed about the thing beneath the ground. In the dream I was standing at the window, looking down, and I could see it clearly for the first time. It wasn't a person, wasn't anything that was ever a person, but it was wearing a face. Not wearing like a mask, wearing like clothes that don't fit right, stretched and sagging in the wrong places, and the face was mine. My face looking up at me from beneath the surface of the rock, smiling with teeth that weren't teeth, waiting for me to come down. I woke up at 3 a.m. to silence. No footsteps, no wind, nothing. And then a voice, clear as day, coming from directly below the catwalk. "Marcus, Marcus, I need help. I fell. My leg is broken. Please come down." It was my voice, perfectly reproduced, every inflection, every tone. My voice asking for help that would never come. I didn't answer. I sat in the center of the room, hands over my ears, humming to myself until sunrise. That was 6 hours ago. Since then I've been packing, preparing, watching the clock. 14 hours until the helicopter arrives. I just have to make it through one more night. Whatever happens, don't look down. Those are the rules, and I'm going to follow them. I'm going to survive this. I'm going to get off this mountain and never think about Desolation Peak again. If anyone finds these recordings after I'm gone, if the helicopter doesn't come or something happens in the night, I want you to know the rules. Don't look down at night. Don't open the door after dark. Don't answer when it calls your name. And if you're ever assigned to a fire tower in the North Cascades in Whatcom County, anywhere near Desolation Peak, refuse the posting. Tell them no. Tell them you'd rather lose your job, because there's something beneath these mountains, something that walks like a person but isn't, and it's been waiting here for a very, very long time. It can wait a little longer, but eventually, it won't have to. Eventually, someone will forget the rules. Eventually, someone will look down. I hope it's not you. This is Marcus Dunne, Washington State DNR, signing off. The helicopter arrived at Desolation Peak Lookout at 09:30 on August 16, 2024. The cabin was found empty. Marcus Dunne's personal belongings were still inside, including his radio, his backpack, and his phone with these audio recordings. The door to the catwalk was open. Approximately 40 feet below the tower, search and rescue teams found a single boot, identified as belonging to Dunne, pressed into a crack in the granite, as if the rock had briefly become soft enough to accept it, before hardening again. No other trace of Marcus Dunne has ever been found. His case remains open with the Whatcom County Sheriff's Office, classified as a missing person. The Forest Service has not assigned a new lookout to Desolation Peak. The official reason given is structural concerns with the tower. Unofficially, no one has volunteered for the posting since 2019.